GUnit, and we are working on the full stack web application for the Hartford. And these are our team members. So we still have the same tasks delegated. So Lauren and Cam are working on the S3 bucket still. Me and Aish are working on the database / MySQL and connecting it with Glue. Mike and Shabazz we're working on the front end this sprint.
Okay, so our accomplishments for Sprint 1, our planned user stories were the following there. 7.3, 2.6, 2.4, 2.3, 2.5, 3.1, and then 6.3. We were able to complete the user story 7.3 for enabling a detailed access logging and setting up monitoring on the S3 bucket for our data input. And then we were also able to view the audit log for that data being ingested. Some of our user stories, the partially completed ones here, were incomplete because we, during the sprint, weren't connected to the NHS or NHTSA API to collect the recall data. So we're still in progress. We started setting those up, but they just need to be fully attached to the recall data that's coming in for them to be completed. And then our demo is on a separate video.
So here we have some individual contributions. So even though we all contributed equally, these are just some of the highlights that we have written down on the slide. So Aisha was able to create the JDBC and MySQL connection on AWS Glue. I was able to set up the Glue job on AWS, and I was able to ensure that it was able to remove duplicates. Lauren and Cam were able to create a log for the S3 bucket containing the data, and Mike and Shabazz were implementing the secure login via AWS Cognito and integrating with the NHTSA API with dynamic dropdowns and deploying front end using S3 and CloudFront with the HTTPS.
So some of the things that went well is now we have a functional UI portal. So we have a functional and working front end, and that allows the users to either log in or sign up, and as well as view recalls. Another thing that went well was leveraging our team's skills and utilizing each other's expertise. And so we had small meetings throughout this sprint to get another pair of eyes looking at our errors and that we were encountering. And so it was helpful when fixing those issues we were encountering.
All right, so for the challenges and resolutions, first we ran into like some Cognito login redirect issues, and that's like after we logged in, the app was like trying to redirect to localhost, which caused the app to break. And then we fixed this by like updating the redirect URI in both Cognito and the React app to match our deployed CloudFront domain. And then another issue was the app was defaulting to the wrong URL after the building, and this was because the homepage field was missing in package JSON, and then it was an easy fix. We just added it and then rebuilt the app, and then everything was routed correctly. And then another issue was that CloudFront was serving outdated version of the app even after deployment, and then we just added a cache invalidation after every new build upload. And another issue, like issue / challenge, is that we have issues connecting our MySQL target due to like catalog and JDBC limitations. And to work around this, we've changed our approach and we set up an S3 bucket to store cleansed data in Parquet format and used Amazon Athena to query it efficiently.
Moving on to lessons learned, our first lesson learned from the sprint is proper planning is especially important. It sounds like common sense, but for our part of the project, one of the user stories we focused on couldn't be implemented since we still didn't have access to recall data. So it's especially important for the preconditions to be in check before we choose a story to act on. Our second lesson was effective communication is crucial. Like Aisha mentioned, throughout the week we did hop on calls to help each other and use each other's expertise, but we didn't really check in on everything that we did or what we were having trouble with. We need to do a better job of reaching out to the other team that has the same project as us if we're confused, or also reaching out to the Hartford team that is to assist us when we have questions.
So changes based on lessons learned was ensuring that our sprint plan addresses the basic functionality first and that all preconditions to a user story are completed before adding it to a sprint plan. More team check-ins amongst each other to ensure we're all aware of what's happening. I know during the sprint, I personally faced a lot of issues with security access. I was very confused. I didn't have the proper roles to execute some of the stuff I wanted to do. I was able to hop on a call with team member and hopefully troubleshoot it together. But definitely I feel like we could do a better job at hopping on amongst each other and like collaborating and like even like having a Word doc where we like document all our errors that we encountered and like how we resolved it, just so if another team member is facing the same issue, they could also go and see the common mistakes and issues we faced, just for like efficiency.
And lastly, for our next sprint, one of the main big focuses is for our big user story is creating a insurance rate estimation engine based on all the data that we can get from the Nixa API, and then somehow create a sort of rating that would provide business value of how risky it would be to get a certain vehicle model insured, so it could provide the business value part of our project or application, which is a big part of software engineering. So, and then also we have to complete uh, unfinished user stories from the sprint. So just finishing up the AWS glue stuff. Uh, and then some other smaller user stories would be to implement the admin functionality using Cognito, so that entry or records in our database can be edited and modified by people who have the admin access to it. And that's it for next sprint.
That is the end of our presentation. Thank you very much.